Good afternoon and welcome back. I'm Marcus Peter. The media is reporting that a Dutch doctor euthanized a sick 12-year-old child with a non-disclosed illness. It's a quote-unquote first under a new Dutch law that allows euthanasia for children ages 1 to 12. But it's hardly the first pediatric case we've seen in recent years. Wes Smith joins us with more. Wes is no stranger to this program. He is senior fellow at the Discovery Institute for Human Exceptionalism. Wes, thank you very much for joining us. How are you?
Marcus, good to speak with you again.
This is really heartbreaking as a father of young children. And for the sake of our listeners, if you can share with us what has happened here.
Well, the Netherlands has done away with all age restrictions on euthanasia, meaning being lethally killed. That's the only way you can be killed, but lethally jabbed by doctors. It's been that way in Belgium for a long time. And what really rubs me the wrong way is that infanticide has been allowed in the Netherlands for ages, for years, under what's called the Groningen Protocol, Groningen, so that if a baby is born with a terminal illness or a serious disability, they're killed in their bassinet. And the Groningen Protocol is a bureaucratic checklist that tells doctors whether a baby is killable. So this is something that has been happening a long time. I was a little puzzled that this case made such news, and it made quite a bit of news, that a 12-year-old, perhaps younger, they didn't actually give the age, child was euthanized. It's something that isn't newsworthy in the sense of being new. It's newsworthy, I think, in the sense that we shouldn't be killing children, much less anyone else. But there you have it.
The horror of the whole thing is that this is being touted under laws of compassion and death with dignity. Can you please speak to the usual euphemistic language that's being brought up?
Yeah,
here?
They call it medical aid in dying or MAID. They don't even like to use the dying part because what they're trying to do is deflect from the darkness. And when you have to use a gooey euphemism to pretend what you're doing is not as bad as it is, there's something wrong with what you're doing. In my piece in National Review on this, I noted that, in Germany after World War II, doctors were hanged for killing disabled babies. And the interesting thing is that people think, oh, that was Nazis. No, it wasn't Nazis. It was part of the eugenics program. The Nazis allowed it, but it wasn't the Nazis forcing doctors to do this. It was considered what they called a healing treatment back then. This was going to be good for the baby. This was going to be good for the family because the family wouldn't be, quote, burdened, close quote, by having a disabled child. And this was going to be good for the Reich because the Reich would not have to pay the costs of caring for a disabled human being. We see those kinds of utilitarian attitudes creeping into euthanasia practice here in the West. There have been story after story out of Canada in terms of their very, in my view, wild euthanasia practice of all the money that is being saved for socialized medicine. There's a real push on in the United Kingdom to legalize assisted suicide and euthanasia. And there's actually been arguments in the parliament that, hey, this can help the NHS. This will save us a lot of money. And when you consider that if you reject the idea that human life has intrinsic dignity simply and merely because it's human, but that we have to earn our capacity, our right to be here based on, not, quote, suffering, close quote, you can see how really dangerous and out of control this could quickly become.
And, to be very honest, this is already out of control. That we have whole laws that are legalizing the legal medical killing of children, in this case, ages 0 to 12. Have we no concept of the dignity of the human person here?
No, we don't. And what's happened is, for some people, many people in the West, and I think it's a Western phenomenon. You don't see Eastern countries, you don't see Muslim countries pushing this. You don't even see China pushing this. China has a lot of other issues, but they're not pushing this. that the purpose of society has ceased to be protecting innocent human life and has become the elimination of suffering. And if the purpose of society is elimination of suffering, that quickly moves into eliminating the sufferer. And once you decide that eliminating suffering is paramount, then what constitutes the kind of suffering that qualifies for elimination quickly expands. You've seen that in Canada. We've discussed this many times, where they started with, well, only if it's death is a foreseeable event, which is pretty loose anyway, to now people with disabilities, people with chronic conditions. They're arguing about whether or not to install the mental illness euthanasia in Canada. They were going to, and there's been a pushback on that right now. Mental illness is allowed for euthanasia in the Netherlands and Belgium. You have organ harvesting can join now with these practices and so forth. So it really is getting to be a situation not only where it is considered a medical treatment, but that people who decide that they want to be killed, they become objectified. And they can be seen for the good they can provide the society as opposed to taking care of them. I mean, people get organ harvested in Canada and they don't get suicide prevention around euthanasia. And think about this, because even in Canada right now, it's only for adults, but they have redefined killing into a medical treatment. If killing is a medical treatment, how do you prevent people who are not competent, or how do you prevent children from receiving a medical treatment? Once people accept the concept that it is medical treatment and it is a legitimate way to eliminate suffering, you're going to have many, many more of these cases.
Is there even a kind of threshold as to what kind of illnesses are being deemed euthanizable, if I may coin a term? Because it certainly seems here that the unwillingness to divulge what the sickness is tells me that the threshold is either non-existent or at least very, very low.
Yeah, the idea that they're practicing protecting the privacy of a deceased child, you don't have to name the child, but you certainly should give more information. But, you know, it's in terms of the broader question of euthanasia, suffering, what constitutes somebody to be euthanizable, as you put it? It's in the eye of the person who wants to be killed. So, we hear advocates say, well, this is only a last resort when nothing else can be done to eliminate suffering. You hear that repeatedly. That is not how the laws read. That is how the advocacy is projected, but the laws don't say that. The laws basically say, an intractable or disease that is causing suffering as defined by the person who's experiencing it. So even if, as an objective matter, you could provide palliative care and relieve the pain or alleviate the suffering, it doesn't matter, because if the patient says, that's still too much for me, I don't want it, then it's up to them. They get to decide. And the other part of this is that it spreads like a stain, so that you have doctors who are ideologically predisposed to euthanizing, and they will always find a reason to say, well, this is okay to go forward. There's a doctor in Delaware that has euthanized more than 200 people, charging about $8,000 per case, assisted the suicide, not euthanized. So that doctor has made $1 million off of assisted suicide. Marcus, what do they call the medical student that comes in last in his or her class? Doctor. So that means that any doctor who, even ones who really cannot cut it in terms of healing people and treating people, can go into set up shop as a euthanizing or assisted suiciding doctor and make a lot of money.
Wes, my friend, I praise the Lord that you're doing the work that you do without losing your sanity. Thank you for your time.
Assuming facts, not in evidence.
My guest has been Wes Smith. He is Senior Research Fellow at the Center for Human Exceptionalism at the Discovery Institute. We've been talking about a 12-year-old that was euthanized in the Netherlands. Stay tuned, I'm Marcus Peter.